Hi, guys. Today's story is about husband and wife, Todd and Barb Kendhammer from Wisconsin. Typical morning. Todd's driving Barb to work. She works at a school. She's a lunch lady. And tragedy strikes. And Barb ends up in the hospital from a vehicle-related incident, and she doesn't make it. And the police have to determine if they think that it was the accident that Todd is claiming it to be, that a pipe flew off a truck, crashed the windshield, hit her, and ultimately killed her, or if there's a little bit more going on, a little bit something else happened, maybe a little something sinister happened. And as you listen to the story, you're thinking like, oh, throw this guy away. This is open and shut. Look at all this evidence. And then as you dig a little deeper, you're like, well, I don't know. It's kind of a hard one to call. And, there's a lot that goes into deciding if a man should be in prison for the rest of his life for murder or not. So I like to call this the case of the reasonable doubt. So stay tuned and let us know what you all think. Hello, everyone.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome back to our channel, Two Peas and a Crime Pod. Here we are, your two peas.
This is our crime case, please. And that's our pod.
Yes, it is.
We're on episode
City 4.
64.
Like the Nintendo.
Ah, yeah, one of my favorites.
Yes.
I loved that version.
Well, such a good one.
Right?
Absolutely. Mario 64.
Mario 64.
So good. Classic.
Yes.
Soundtrack.
Amazing.
On point.
Mm-hmm.
Love that game.
No, wait.
It's all rainy and cold outside today, so the water song came in my head.
I was just going to say, was 64 the one with the castle?
Yep.
Okay.
64 is one you're thinking of.
Where you can go around in circles and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all the Marios were great. I loved the world that had the da 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 da.
That's old.
I loved that one too.
That was old. Super Mario.
And the one that had the bridge, Butter Bridge.
No, that's in Canal Fulton.
I know, but
there was one called Butter Bridge in Mario.
Yeah, Butter Bridge Road. It was
a
bridge.
The Rainbow Bridge?
No. This is where you could go to different worlds. You didn't have to follow a thing.
Yeah, Super
there was
Mario.
The ghost.
Yeah.
With the... Yeah. That one had the Butterbridge Road.
Oh.
And that was a good one too. With the Yoshi that you could ride.
Yoshi. Yes. Harvey and I have been playing that one.
That's a fun one too. They're all great.
They are.
Yeah.
Unmatched. But enough about Mario. Let's talk about crime.
All right, let's talk. We're going to get into it today. Okay.
What's today's story, Mama?
Well, let's do
VD.
Viewer discretion. We're going to be describing some gore, murder, domestic violence, that kind of thing.
Yikes.
If that's going to trigger you, skip this one. Come back for something else gory and murderish.
Yeah. Yes.
There's plenty to go around.
Yeah.
Sorry, this channel might not be for you if you don't like that.
Yeah, this is true.
Or it triggered you. But this is about Todd Kendhammer. You ever heard of him? This is really
Don't think so.
Interesting, and I have split views on it. I really do. So we'll see what you think. I can't wait to see what you think.
Okay.
All right, the case begins on an old country road in Wisconsin. September 16th, 2016 at 8:05 a.m., Todd Kendhammer called 911 to report a freak accident that severely injured his wife, Barbara.
Okay.
Todd told police responders, he was driving north. Barbara was in the passenger seat, and that's when a flatbed truck passed them at a high rate of speed. It was hauling pipes, and Todd said one of the pipes flew off the truck and crashed through the windshield and hit Barb.
Okay. I think I do know this case.
In the head. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You're not sure?
I'm not remembering everything about it right now, but that part I feel like I remember.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
they never able to like find the flatbed truck or like
No, they couldn't find
okay. I
it.
think I do know this story, but it's hazy, but okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Todd said that the first thing that he said was he did see something and he thought it was just a bird flying towards the windshield. So he said he wasn't sure what he was doing. His reflex was to swat at it or something. And he like punched the windshield. Only he did it with his left hand over here
Which
like
is
this.
weird.
It is weird. Unless he's left-handed, which I don't know that he is or not. But it might be your instinct if you're left-handed to turn and but it's on your wife's side, so
Even if you drive with your right hand, you would want to be able to reach as far. I don't know. And why would you punch at a bird outside the car? That's
it's
just
inside. Yeah, he said it was coming towards the window and he just I don't know if he wanted to stop it from hitting his wife or keep it from coming through, but
birds have
he
flown towards my windshield all the time. They go splat and then they fly like a. That's just a weird instinct, anyways.
It
But go ahead.
is. I agree. He said it happened so fast. Um it whatever it was, it turned out to be a pipe, came through and hit Barb. His hands were photographed and all the knuckles, like all of these ones and these ones, were red, like abraded. Um,
So he had to come up with a reason why his knuckles look like he punched something.
could
Okay.
be, could be.
Unless you punched your windshield as hard as you fucking could, which again, why would you do that? Like
Yeah.
your knuckles wouldn't be abraded anyways.
He
Like
said
they're
it was just like a reflex. That's how he described it.
okay.
Okay. He also had one knuckle on his right hand was abraded in red, like the first finger knuckle. Um, he also had scratches on his neck and chest.
Okay.
Okay. According to his story, the windshield was hit twice, first by himself on the inside with his fist, then by the pipe from the outside. Next, Todd said he panicked and turned off the road. So he was on a county highway and he turned off onto this, it was like right before a turn. So he turned off onto this littler traveled dead end
Okay.
road. Then he said somehow he was panicked and the car ended up in reverse and backed into a swamp, like a ditch with swamp grass.
Okay.
He said he wanted to get Barb out, but the pipe was in the way, so he took it out, tossed it over in the grass, and got her out. And they did find the pipe laying in the swamp grass. When they arrived, Barb was rushed to the hospital. She had head injuries and was in critical condition, and Todd followed them to the hospital, not in his car, but in a with a cruiser.
Cruiser. Yeah.
Meanwhile, investigators are still processing the scene. They find blood and glass fragments and a broken Bubba coffee mug in the interior. Barb brought it to work every day. She would fill it with water. There's blood on the rear hubcap on the outside and also like in a little puddle on the grass next to the rear tire.
Like he laid her down in the grass, like waiting for paramedics when he got her out of the car, maybe?
Right,
And then
right,
like touched the hubcap or something, maybe?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, these are just the facts
Okay.
of the case. So then at the hospital, unfortunately, Barbara succumbed to her injuries and the family chose to donate her organs.
Had the pipe impaled her?
No,
It just hit her.
it just hit her.
Okay.
Yes. Um so when they're going to donate your organs, they keep your body alive to
Right.
get the organs out.
Yeah.
And the next morning then after they had harvested all they could, she was pronounced dead. She was 46 years old. An autopsy was done since it was a freak accident.
Yeah.
And there were 3 lacerations on the back of the skull. So, like on the right side, there was like 2, and they kind of start towards the middle and kind of go out. And then on the left side, there was 1 on the other side of the back, and it was going out the other way.
Okay.
Um, Plus a fatal skull fracture on the left side of the back of her skull over here. It radiated towards the top or center of her head, and then also down.
I'm guessing that she was sitting in her seat facing forward
Exactly.
and not
She wasn't facing the rear of the car.
facing backwards for some reason.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. She had multiple bruises on her body, especially her right leg. It was covered in bruises, as well as both of her armpits were bruised. And there
Well,
were,
that could be from trying to get her out of the car, like trying to lift her.
yes, I agree.
Not necessarily the bruises on the leg, though. And were they fresh? Is that why you're saying this? Like,
Yeah,
fresh,
this is just all that was
fresh
noted.
bruising? Okay.
Yes.
Can you imagine if they got me and during one of those times where my legs are all bruised the fuck up for no reason?
It'd be like, what the heck happened
They'd
to
be
you?
like, who the fuck has been beating you?
Right.
There's just certain times where I look like a cow, like spots of a cow on my legs with bruises. And it's really bizarre. Like both my legs will just be covered in bruises, varying stages and sizes. Can you imagine if somebody like Matt was like, I swear to God, I didn't fucking touch her. I don't know why the fuck she looks like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can play this back as my evidence that no one's beating me, that sometimes my legs are just like, ow, for no reason.
Now I can beat her.
Yeah, now she's going to start beating me.
Okay, so there were also random bruises just all over her body, front and back. Her nose was broken, but there were no cuts or bruises to her nose. It didn't look like she was struck in the nose by a pipe. Her neck cartilage was fractured. It wasn't the hyoid bone, but it was the cartilage in the neck. It was fractured. And that does come from being hit in the neck or if your neck is compressed. Also, there were multiple small scratches on her neck, just all around it.
Which can mean that if someone's stepping on you or pushing on you, that you were trying to claw, like get them off of you and you scratched your own neck in doing so.
Exactly. And her fingers were abraded, and her hands, and her fingernails looked like dirty, like all the way around and then under.
There was like she was in a fight for her fucking life.
Like it looked like it might have been dirted, like darkened blood or dirt. It was just, yeah, her fingernails were filthy.
If somebody just got you out of a car and laid you on the ground, unless she was she conscious, or was she like thrashing like, I'm in pain, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
Help me.
I don't know.
Because otherwise, why would he have to get her out of the car? He said he had to get her out of the car, like she was not able to do it herself, which tells me she wasn't thrashing or moving.
I don't know.
So yeah, there would be like no reason for your fingers to be dirty. Unless you garden every morning or some shit. I don't know.
No, she was on her way to work. She worked in a school lunchroom.
Okay.
She was meticulous about keeping her hands and fingernails clean, and
it's part of her job. Yeah.
Yes. Also then, some of their investigation showed that forensically, if a 10-pound pipe was traveling at 100 miles per hour, it would have been like getting hit by a missile. It would have traveled through anything it hit, including her head and the car seat, all the way out the back window.
Yeah, there's a lot of force, and it's not going to give, but everything else will. The steel's not going to give. I don't believe that it would have gone through the seat and made it all the way out the car. At some point,
it was a skinny pipe.
It was very small.
It wasn't a big, thick, giant pipe.
Was it solid or was it?
And no, it was
hollow.
It was hollow on the inside.
So it's gonna pierce through. At the bare minimum, it would have easily gone through the windshield and through her for sure. Like it would have
definitely. It would have minimum.
It would have impaled her or cut her. Like wherever it hit, there would have been a fucking puncture. Like for sure. Something. Not like her nose is broken, but there's like no cuts or anything. Like it tapped her. Like, no, that doesn't make sense.
Okay. Police are at this time questioning Todd's entire story. They first use cell logs to map the route that they took that morning, because they're supposed to be taking her to work.
Right.
So basically, they live up here, and her job is down here.
Okay.
And it's basically just a straight shot down this road.
Okay.
Basically, they had to get a search warrant for Google for both phones to track their movements. Did you know that if you have Google, they could do a GPS?
Oh no, it's amazing. My Google Maps, you can go to follow my timeline and it shows you everywhere that you've been, everywhere your phone's been. So if my phone's in my pocket, everywhere I've been. That's how I used to do my time logs at work because I could never fucking remember to do them every day. And at the end of the
Oh,
week, I'd be like, fuck, I don't know when I got here or when I left. It varies. So I would follow my time log to when I got to the parking garage and when I got to the
oh, that's
parking garage.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea
Oh, yeah.
till this case that they could do that. So they got the search warrant, and they found out that they didn't drive straight to her work. Well, obviously, because he was heading north on the county road. It makes a loop like this. So he was heading down, and then he cut across and then went north on this road. And then it started to go this way. And then that's where the accident happened. And then there was a little road that turns this way. And
And
then
that's where
he
they ended up.
backed into the
Yeah.
ditch. Okay, so at 7:59 a.m., as a marker, using that as the marker of the event, they searched camera footage from this farm down the road, and it should have shown the flatbed truck driving by.
This is what I remember. Actually, like, I don't even remember the extent of her injuries, but I remember that, like, his story, he always maintained, like, there was a fucking truck and a pipe fell off. And I was, like, what the fuck was I supposed to do? And they could never find any footage of any truck. They never found any truck in the area. They never, like, they could not find
No, uh, it showed Todd's
car.
car drive by. It showed the emergency vehicles drive by, but there was never a flatbed driving by. So now Todd is definitely a person of interest. 6 days after the accident, they go to the Kendhammer home, and the family was actually gathered there that time. Everybody had brought photos. They were arranging them
Yeah,
for making arrangements for
for
the
the
wake.
funeral and the calling
hmm
hours. Yeah.
The police had a search warrant stating it was for intentional homicide, and they brought Todd to the station for questioning. And meanwhile, their daughter, they had a daughter, she is floored. First of all, she thought, oh, this is just what they do whenever there's
Right.
you
Like,
know,
okay, of course they have to rule him out. Like,
she didn't think anything of it until they had laid the warrant on the counter in the kitchen. And then she just kind of glanced at it, and she saw it said intentional homicide, and she was like, whoa.
yeah, like,
Because in her mind, she's not suspicious at all.
no, she thinks it's a freak accident. She thinks my poor father witnessed this. My mother's gone, his wife's gone. Like, it's just a family tragedy. This, you know, she's has no inkling that there was any kind of foul play or
Exactly. So, okay. They brought him in for questioning. Todd said they took that different route because they had to pick up a car from a coworker. It needed a windshield changed out. Barb was supposed to be to work by 8:30 though. And they said, "Well, isn't she supposed to be to work by 8:30?" And Todd said, "Well, her schedule is flexible." So that's his explanation of why they're heading north.
why wouldn't you just take her to work and then go do the car thing anyways?
Yeah. Oh, I know why. Because she had to drive the car.
Oh, switching it out, like he's got to go pick it up with her so she can bring it back and then he can. Okay. Okay.
So detectives at that time flat out said, "Your story doesn't add up." And then he went right into, he was incredulous. He claimed he did not do anything to hurt his wife at all. Um, just repeated that over and over
Yeah.
again. The search warrant didn't provide any evidence of the house. So they begin to investigate his story about the coworker's car. That guy said, nope. He said, Todd's never been to my house to fix a windshield. There was no plan to meet up to fix a windshield that morning or anything.
Why would you give such a dumb alibi?
Easily verifiable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Next, they go to the school where Barb worked. Her coworkers and boss said Barb was always there by 8 a.m. and she always called if she was going to be late. They didn't get a call that day. They were worried about her. They figured something must have happened
Yeah.
because it's not like her. Now they investigated the scene of the accident. Okay, so they're looking. Do you need to check that?
Uh, I don't think so.
They're looking for some defect in the road that would have jarred the truck, the flatbed, and made the pipe loose, causing it to fly off the truck. So they're looking at the road, trying to find if there's a pothole or something. The road was in good condition. There's no obvious signs of anything that would cause the flatbed to have been jarred. Also, there's no evidence of skid marks because they thought Todd would have skidded to a halt when the accident happened. Um, but there were no skid marks. Todd had turned off the highway and drove a short distance down the side road before backing into this ditch. None of this makes any sense to the detectives based on his
I'm trying to
story.
think, even if there was someone riding my ass, that might be the only way that I overcome the instinct to immediately jam on the fucking brakes. Like, unless I had been aware, like, oh, this guy's tailing me, and now I know, like, fuck, I want to stop, but I'm about to get rear-ended too. And I don't even know if a pipe just came through my fucking windshield and hit my wife in the face, if I'd have the presence of mind to remember that I'm being... That guy probably hit his fucking brakes. You know what I mean? Like, that just doesn't... Like, I know that in stress situations, people handle things differently, but, like, who's, like, looking at that and looking over at that and being like, well, let me get to a safe place to stop.
No, yeah.
And then let me put it in reverse. Let me back in.
Right. Okay.
I had a spider dangle in front of me one time, and I
Almost
jerked the fucking wheel the wrong way onto a one-way street and, like in the middle of the fucking road.
Yeah.
I was young. I wouldn't do that now. Now I wouldn't care. But, like, in that stage of my life, I was very afraid of spiders, so it was high stress for me, and that was my inkling. Like,
Rather
like,
than punch the windshield, I would have jerked the car wheel or something.
yeah,
You
or
know?
done like the typical, like, oh my god, like the mom hand, like, brace your, like, are you paying attention, brace yourself, or something.
Right.
But if you think it's a bird, unless it was a huge fucking bird, you would just be like, dumbass bird, like, because it's not gonna do anything. Maybe it'll crack the windshield, maybe, but, like, it's not like... It would have to be there have to
It
be
wasn't
like
Big Bird.
a fucking rooster or bigger.
It wasn't an
Yeah.
ostrich.
Yeah. Like a fucking stork was coming towards us with a baby in its mouth.
Right.
I don't know. Like, yeah, like, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, could any of these seem like reasonable responses? But just no. Like, no.
Okay.
That doesn't make any sense. And even if you instinctually drive with a right hand or something, every grown adult knows you can let go of the wheel unless you're in a turn and the car's going to go straight. You could very easily...
Right, right.
Well,
yeah, why the left hand? Yeah. Okay. So next, the detectives are looking for a motive. So they look at their financials, or they're investigating relationship issues.
Yeah.
They find zero money problems, and neighbors, friends, and coworkers describe their relationship as almost a fairy tale. They never fought. They never even had disputes. They had just celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary, and everything seemed fine. Their daughter swore that her dad would never hurt anyone, let alone his wife, that they loved each other. The police asked for help from the public next. So they're asking for information from anyone that had been driving down that road at that time, or if anyone had seen anything. They got a response. One man said, yes, I drove down that road between like 8:02 or 8:04 a.m. And he said, I saw the car in the ditch, but I didn't see any people. He said he drove by slowly with his window down because...
He thought something was wrong.
Exactly. And he expected to see somebody walking, towards the highway, maybe to get help
or right
or
outside
something.
the car, or...
Yeah, but there was nobody. Also, he said that he didn't notice any damage to the windshield or any pipe sticking out of the windshield or anything. wrong with the windshield. So police begin to form this hypothesis
He
based
finds a
on,
pipe in the wood while he's beating the fuck out of his wife and then just goes and jams it through the windshield, pulls it back out.
yeah, based on what they're not finding and trying to line it up with his story, they're getting a different idea of what happened. They think Todd had Barb down in the ditch trying to keep her quiet, maybe applying pressure to her neck until the car moved on. So now that they have more details, they they wanted to see about if a pipe could fly off a flatbed and do that.
Yeah.
So they built this contraption.
Oh, and it was so if it would bounce or not. Isn't that what it was? If it
Very
would.
good.
Yes, I remember
They
this.
didn't test any bouncing though.
Oh, okay.
But they built a contraption on the back of the flatbed. They wanted to see if they could reproduce events and get the same result as what Todd claimed happened, as well as the same damage to the windshield. So the pipe didn't fly across the lane of traffic or be able to penetrate the passenger side of the car windshield. Also, they tested the human reaction time, which is typically normal reaction time is 2 to 3 seconds. The pipe took, I've got the pipe took the pavement in a quarter of a second. The pipe fell to the pavement. It didn't take the pavement.
That makes more sense.
It only took a quarter of a second to happen. So there wouldn't have been any time for him to react, to hit the windshield with his fist. So their remake of the event showed that the whole thing would have happened in the blink of an eye. And now they're investigating the actual pipe that was at the scene. It had absolutely no blood on it anywhere, not on the ends, nowhere was there blood on it. It only had glass on one end of it, which you would expect to see.
The one that it went through, yeah.
And then the other end had clay-like soil. That was it, which said nothing. So they used luminol in the car to look for the presence of blood. The weird part was that there was no blood on her headrest, like the back of the behind her.
Yeah. So all of the head trauma happened outside of the car.
Right. There was nothing on the back of Barb's seat. There were drip stains on the center console, suggesting she had been slumped over it for a short period of time. And then there was a pool of blood on the floorboard in front of her seat. That indicated that she had leaned forward and was bleeding for a longer period of time. They also found blood spatter stains on the center console and the interior windshield, suggesting a beating. So now they further hypothesized that there had been a physical struggle inside the car. At one point, they believed the gear shift had probably been hit, explaining why the car was backed into the ditch during some kind of a struggle going on. They believe Barb was struck on the back of her head, or perhaps her head struck the tire rim that had blood on it, because the hubcap had kind of those marks that kind of looked like what was found on the back of her head, the abrasions.
Right. Okay.
The crime lab found fresh grass had been closed in the trunk of the car. It was the swamp grass, the longer, and they want to know, how did swamp grass get in the trunk?
The trunk, yeah.
It means Todd would have had to open the trunk at some point during this ordeal. And why would he? If it went the way he said, why would he open the trunk? Their hypothesis was that he had the pipe in the trunk and he took it out to stage the whole scene.
Yeah.
And then swamp grass got in. So they believe that an impromptu fight began in the car. He struck her and broke her nose. They struggled. The car went into reverse because the gear shift was bumped in the struggle. He dragged her out of the car into the ditch, and she fought back, scratching his chest and neck. And then the other car went by, and he was holding her down by her neck. And then he banged her head on the rim of the tire hard enough to crack her skull. He used the pipe to strike the windshield. And here was the weird part. So, you know when you hit that kind of glass, there's like an impact point, and then there's
splinters.
it cracks out in
Yeah.
a circle pattern. They found 3. So they found the one from the inside and 2 from the outside. So they were very close to each other, but you could obviously see that there were different radiating lines.
Like he hit it
and it
2
didn't
times
break.
and it didn't break, and the 3rd time it broke.
Right. That made his story impossible. The pipe would have had to have hit from the outside of the car twice to replicate the impact pattern. All right. 3 months after Barb's death, I had like one hair tickling my nose. They arrested Todd and charged him with Barb's murder. 1 year after his arrest, he went to trial. And on the 14th of December of 2017, the jury found him guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison with the eligibility of parole after 30 years. So his family, especially his daughter, were like, we don't believe it. Even Barb's family didn't believe it. So they all put money together and hired a new set of defense. And guess who they were?
For appeals?
Yeah. It was the attorney from Making a Murderer and his wife, Jerry
Butt
Buting, and Kathy Stilling was her name. And they did a number of their own tests. So, like, they had a forensic pathologist who said if she had ducked her head forward when she saw the pipe coming, the pipe would have skimmed the back of her head where the lacerations were. The Bubba mug would have been on her lap, and her face could have hit it, or her face could have hit the dash, explaining the broken nose.
Yeah.
And why the Bubba cup was broken.
Yeah.
All of the other injuries could have come after the accident, but before the autopsy. Meaning, they believe that when they were harvesting her organs, she could have been bruised. They basically just go in, take the organs out, and then they just stitch you back up. It's not a delicate procedure.
Right. That makes sense.
Like you said, he dragged her out of the car, which explained the armpit bruises.
Yeah.
The cervical collar, okay, so they didn't know if her neck was broken when she was laying on the ground, so they put a cervical collar on her. And they said that explained the marks around her neck, and then glass might have gotten in because it didn't look like fingernail scratches.
Yeah.
Like she was trying to pull something away.
It was just little
abrasions. So they said if glass had gotten in there, that could make for why she had these little marks all around her neck. Then they tried to intubate her, and that could have fractured the cartilage.
Okay.
The organ harvesting already caused this. They said it could have caused the facial and bodily injuries before the autopsy because they did take her eyes. And
okay.
Then they did a pipe drop test, examining scenarios where the pipe would have bounced off the ground.
That's what I was talking about earlier.
They're the ones that did it.
Okay.
It actually could have been possible to see it coming if it had bounced off the ground. And then here's the funny thing. The original police officer's report actually stated that Todd said that the pipe bounced off the road and hit the windshield. He made that statement 15 minutes after his 911 call. That was like the first thing that he said happened.
Yeah.
That wasn't presented in court by the first legal team. But he actually said this pipe bounced off the road and came towards the windshield. So why did his story change? And later he said something different because he was questioned 4 different times about this.
Yeah.
And one of the times they suggested that the pipe just came straight through the windshield. And ever since they suggested it, then he had been saying that.
And he said, I don't know. It happened so fast. The pipe came through the windshield.
Yes.
Ultimately it did.
But it was in the first responders' report that he had said it bounced off the ground. So 3 years after his verdict of guilty, they presented new evidence as to why the first trial was unfair and biased towards the prosecutor's case.
Yeah.
The prosecution says all of the new evidence is moot. They don't believe that any of it matters.
Well, isn't a jury supposed to decide if they believe it matters?
It's the judge.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So they said that the fact that the glass was covering the entire gear shift well. So you know how you have a shifter and then there's like
Yeah.
a dip. If it's in park, the whole well is there, and that's where all the glass was. Whereas if it had been in drive, the glass would be above the shift and below the shifter.
Yeah.
That's their whole thing, and they're saying so that shows that the glass was broken when it was in park, not when it was in drive.
Okay.
The judge agreed with the prosecution, and his sentence was held up in January of 2023.
Well, how do you get 3 lacerations on the back of your head and a fucking fracture that kills you from one pipe scraping your head as you duck down?
It's a good question. I mean, they said if she was bent over, it could have happened. I mean, it's just weird. The
Don't you
pipe,
think it would have taken a chunk out? Like,
who knows? That's what I'm saying. That's why for me, I'm like, they don't have any record. There's no motive. There's no history of fighting. There's no money problems. He wasn't going to gain any insurance. Yeah,
I
it's
don't think
weird.
any of that necessarily matters.
It's weird that he made up a story about this guy's windshield, but if he was panicked, maybe that's what, maybe he was like, this does seem weird. I better make up a story. I
No.
mean, so you really think he's guilty?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I think he started driving her to work. They start fighting or arguing, and he says, "Well, you know what? Then we're gonna go fucking home. Then you can walk to work, bitch," because he's a controlling dickhead. But nobody sees that because they have a fairy tale marriage. Which, by the way, just the fact that somebody says fairy tale marriage is a red flag to me.
Okay.
But nobody knows that he's controlling or they have problems. And he turns the car around, and she's saying, "Don't do this. I can't be late. You're gonna wreck my career." And things are said and she says the wrong thing, and or he starts hitting her like normal, but she says the wrong thing and he pulls the car over, and
It gets knocked into reverse, so they
he's
get in
gonna
the ditch.
he's gonna teach her a fucking lesson. Yeah, there's a scuffle happening in the car, and he drags her out, brings her into the woods to beat her, so there's less evidence everywhere else, you know what I mean?
And then he has to come up with something.
And
So there
then he
happens to be
either
a pipe in his
did have
trunk.
the pipe in his trunk, or maybe he was looking for rags in the trunk. Who knows what the fuck? He opened the trunk looking for something. That doesn't even shut me. If you just beat your wife, maybe you need like a hand wipe or something. I don't know. But
Okay.
the pipe could have just been there in this little alley that they found with clay dirt on it because it was sticking out of the ground, and he says, "Oh, this will be it." He puts it through the windshield. He thinks he's got his stupid story straight. He puts her beside the car like he just lifted her out of the car to try to help her, and lays her down next to the hubcap and smears his hand on the blood. And
I mean, it's plausible. To me, there's reasonable doubt. I don't know. I think that the second defense team, if they had been there for the first trial, I think it would have been a hung jury.
yeah,
But since they weren't, the
I
first
think,
sentence
yeah,
is
they
held.
obviously did introduce enough reasonable doubt for sure,
That's what I
because it
think.
is all speculative. But, I mean,
They're just,
is it?
I
He's
guess,
covered in scratches. His knuckles are all banged up, and
I
she's all
know.
beat to fuck.
Her fingernails are all dirty.
Yeah.
But it could have been she was laying on the ground and her fingernails got dirty in the swamp grass. I mean, it was swampy, muddy. I mean,
Not
they're
unless you're
working on
moving her.
her, they're putting a thing on her, and
That's true.
I mean,
Well, the paramedics are moving her around, maybe, yeah.
it's just to me there's reasonable doubt. This was a hard one for me.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah. Do you feel comfortable putting this guy away with what's been presented?
They're
Like,
just because his daughter is so sure and she's living in the home. So if there is stuff going on behind closed doors that's
how old is she?
I don't know, but she seemed to be young adult, like
22,
18,
somewhere in there.
19. Yeah. So she should know. That's how I feel about it. And she was so adamant, and so was Barb's family. So if something's going on, Barb would confide in mom, things aren't great. it looks, we wear a smiley face and present ourselves this way
You
in
know, not
public.
always. Look at
That is true.
Lacey Peterson.
You're I
Her family went to bat for him at first until they found out about the affair and that there was the motive and stuff, and they were like, oh, now the difference being in this case they looked for an affair and money and things like that, and they're not seeing a motive, so it's harder for the family to put that together.
right.
But what people don't understand is that not all people who kill had violent tendencies before, you know? Sometimes there
It's
aren't
true.
precursory
You
actions.
are
Look at
so
Chris
right.
Watts.
It
There was no
happens.
precursor there, and then he fucking
Yeah. Uh,
did the most terrible
well,
things to his own children. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, someday they just decide I don't need you anymore. I didn't have to hit you this whole time because you were serving a purpose. Now you're not serving a purpose anymore. You know?
yeah.
I
People
I want
people
to
do terrible things all the
I want to
time.
validate, that the daughter really truly feels that way. She lives there, I don't, and they know him, I don't, and I don't know. It's easier for me to believe just because look around and statistics, but not every guy's a killer, and not every guy's an abusive, narcissistic husband, and um yeah, I certainly don't want to be putting people away because this case doesn't look good. Like, this doesn't look right. So you should go to jail for your whole life. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I doubt that. So they're filing more appeals, but I doubt he's going to get another trial because they basically did all their heavy hitters already and it
yeah.
didn't work. So it's just it's unfortunate if he is innocent. It's tragic, but if he's not, then hey, too bad for you. You got what you
Yeah.
deserved.
Oh, sorry, my alarm went off.
Thanks for listening. And if you have any comments, please feel free. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And we'll catch you next time with another great case.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for being here always. And uh, we appreciate you guys. So
Absolutely.
we'll talk to you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.